Chicago right now is doing some of the craziest stuff. Now, taxes are needed for every city, but when you tax too heavily in every single aspect, everyone's going to leave. And Chicago right now is literally spending every single one of those tax dollars and pennies on the migrant crisis. It took in 50,000 people. It'll continue to take in more. Brandon Johnson is like, screw this. Let's just start increasing the taxes and start taxing other sectors who used to not have any sort of major causes for taxing. For example, if you check out Chicago's commercial real estate markets, it is toast. This is one of the worst commercial real estate markets in the world, with record amounts of companies leaving. And one of the biggest moneymakers for Chicago is the commercial real estate transfer taxes, which means that when you buy a commercial office in Chicago, you're going to be paying a small amount of taxes that will transfer to the city. It's basically a transfer tax. They have a lot of these taxes in places like New York City and other cities around the world, which there is major demand. You're not going to really be seeing this sort of tax in very small suburban cities, but mega cities like Chicago, they will have these. So now you got the Bring Chicago Home program, which will stay on the ballot after cities' approval. Now, votes on the question will be counted, and they will be asking voters to decide if the city should increase taxes on property sales over $1 million to fund the homelessness prevention. Now, this is making a lot of business people kind of mad. Once again, Chicago real estate is already super bad, and you can't really find a commercial building for under $1 million. You just can't. Like, buildings of this size, they're not going to just sell for $1 million. Probably like $4, $5, $6, $7 million, right? So it really makes any sense. We're not really sure entirely why Chicago is deciding to tax commercial real estate and even residential units so heavily. A lot of people are saying that Chicago is spending so much money on the migrant crisis that they need money to replenish their buckets. But like I said, you could do this once. You could make a lot of money, but will people buy a real estate the second time? Not really. Now, if Chicago real estate was in super high demand like Singapore, sure, you could increase taxes. Singapore, for example, has a 60% buy-in tax, or their stamp duty. $1 million unit costs you $1.6 million, and the government takes $600,000, and people are still buying it because it's just such a nice city and people are desperately wanting a unit. Chicago? I don't think so. The crime rate here is through the roof. Shoplifting's through the roof. Is this really a place that you want to be for business? Probably not. Check this out. Chicago office tower sells at a massive discount, showing off plunging prices in Chicago. Now, you also have an investor pays $4 million for a half-vacant building. It's not in the bad part of town. It's a very good part of town. In the Loop Business District, 12-story building. It takes up like a part of the block. This is a massive building. If you told me how much this building is worth, I'll probably tell you like maybe 40, 50, maybe even $70 million. But no, they sold it for $4 million. This is a negative 89% loss for this building. And the original owners bought this just a few years ago. It wasn't even that long ago. And now the building is losing almost 90% its value. Is this real estate, or are we playing meme cryptocurrencies? I don't really know, because it feels like both of them are falling at the same rate of value. At least meme crypto will go up eventually, maybe one day, but I don't think these commercial properties will ever go up. So yes, I don't really think the Bring Home Chicago will be adding any spice to the real estate market. I think what Chicago really needs is probably spending less money on the migrant crisis and more money trying to get local businesses and bigger businesses into the city. Like, you see what Florida, Texas, and Nevada are doing? They're even doing tax breaks and incentives for businesses to move in. So it's 2024. Do you guys want to be in Chicago, or do you want to be in Miami for business? Probably Miami, which is what most people are picking. The migrant pressures are affecting the budgets of New York State, Chicago, and Denver. The S&P Global Rating says in a report that it is providing a lot of assistance to migrants and asylum seekers. The federal area, the government area, the city locals, they're providing as much money as possible. But these cities who are playing the sanctuary card are now going broke. These cities are adjusting their budgets to accommodate rising expenditures. Like I said, eventually the federal government and the state will get sick and tired of it. They will stop funding it. And now mayors of all three cities have been called. They're like, hey, can you even survive for the next few years if this is the way you spend the money? Because same thing with Denver. They're spending every single penny of the taxes and taxpayers on the micron crisis. Chicago, same exact thing, spending every single penny on this. And now even doing this crazy tax on commercial real estate and residential units. It's going to make the crappy real estate market in Chicago even worse.